tell you what I know.
What do you know?
I know that it's just a little bit more than 500 years that people have been believing in the ball. And everybody knew before that it was flat, and all the ancient maps from all these indigenous people all over the place show a flat world. And so it's flat, man. It's detectably flat. You just have to have your senses back in order, because really the mind control that's been going on is really controlling and manipulating the senses, you know. If you can look at something flat and think you see a curve in it for some reason, then, you know, somebody's got a hold of your brain. The sun and the moon are real close, and we were talking about how if the moon is actually 32 miles across like the sun, and 3,000 miles above the flat earth, and it's riding on a track well inside the edge of the flat earth, the outer disk, the moon's on an inside track as is the sun, then what caused all those craters in the bottom of the moon? It surely wasn't meteors coming down and doing a U-turn and hitting the bottom of it. So, and also there's quite a bit of evidence out there and theories about the moon being self-luminous like the sun, and that the moonlight is colder than in the shade of the moonlight.
I read that.
And so yeah, I think there's a possibility that we had two suns. And it's said in the prophecy, you know, in the Bible, it says that when the new world is started again, the real actual new world, not the new world order, but the new world that some people would transcend into, that there will be no night. The night won't separate, or the night won't separate the light anymore. And so maybe this world in its pristine condition, it's not a moon and a sun, a beat up moon, but rather two suns, whatever they really are. You know, all the images from NASA, that's what leads you to the flat earth, is understanding that NASA and all the space agencies everywhere are all just frauds. They're a cult. The NASA that we have here in the States is a Nazi cult. And you know, all the evidence is there. You can research Project Paperclip and find out how it was all started. Werner von Braun, a Nazi that, I mean, these people like Werner von Braun, you know, looks real good in his pictures in a suit, such a gentleman, head of NASA, starting up NASA. But yet this guy, when he was in World War II in Germany, he was in a place where they were manufacturing the V1 and the V2 rockets, and they were using slave labor. People were starving to death right before his eyes. So that's the kind of maniac these people are. Just because they look sharp or respectable, or we have some illusion that we're supposed to respect these kind of people, they're really pitiful individuals.
Yeah. So
NASA's real job is to show us all false images. Everything they do is fictitious, a hoax, everything. And their main purpose is to make sure that we don't know anything about the true cosmology of the world we find ourselves in, and to push the heliocentric model and expand on it. And it's all lies, every bit of it, because all of that, and then people say, why would they do that? The whole thing, the more outer space there is, and the more planets there are, and the more of these other lies they perpetrate, the less significant we are. And that's what it's all about, is reducing humans down to something that's a fraction of what they truly are. Because when you know that the Earth is flat and there's a dome over it, and that there's a celestial sphere spinning around us, then you know that somebody created this, and we're inside of this celestial sphere that this world is inside of. That's a universe, one verse. To go beyond that to the other celestial spheres that also contain a single planet, a smallish plane, a planet, not a planet, a planet, then that's the multiverse. That's the other universes that are all contained near each other here. So if you know that, then you know that somebody created this, and that makes people, real people, pretty important, pretty special. And you begin to realize things and come come to grips with your own true self, what you really are. And as you expand your knowledge and your consciousness, you become what you really are. And really, that's the only reason to be here, is to expand your consciousness and help other people. And that's it. Anything else is just gravy. Besides that, you know, you're supposed to experience and enjoy life and be in a beautiful place like this. Down here, in, by the way, in South America, where we are in Uruguay.
Beautiful as it is.
Yes, totally gorgeous.
So what do you think is next for us, John?
Well, that's the smartest question you can ask yourself whenever you find something, and this is really big. The flat earth is really what all the other lies rest on, all of them. Without the flat earth, nothing else can be, none of the false images or, you know, the dogma, none of that can be imposed upon us if we know what we really are, starting with where we really are. But the smartest question you can ask yourself when you find something this huge, like the actual shape of the world you live on, is what is the next biggest thing? What's the next thing going to be in consciousness that I'm going to experience? And already, I don't know if this is the next huge thing, but it's pretty important. We're discovering, Bonnie and I are discovering that there's far fewer people here. This is a small world. It's much smaller. Part of the lies and the illusion is to make us think that this place is vast. All the measurements are off on the globe model and on Google Earth. All those measurements are off. People are proving that they're off. So it's a much smaller world than we've been mind controlled into believing, into being the lie. And there's a lot fewer people. So that's pretty important. There might be 7 billion, you know, entities here walking around that look like people. I'll put it that way. There might be that many of them, but actual real human beings that act and behave like human beings and do what normal human beings do, very few. Much fewer than we've been told. So I guess that's the answer to your question.
Yeah.